Thank you for tuning in to the Ultimate Coach podcast, a companion to the transformative book, The Ultimate Coach, written by Amy Hardison and Alan D. Thompson. Each conversation is designed to be a powerful wake-up call, reminding us of what's possible for you and your life. So if you're on a journey to expand your state of being, this podcast is for you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Ultimate Coach podcast. I'm your host, Ipek Williamson, and today I'm absolutely delighted to have Lisa Kneller join us. Lisa is not just any guest. She's a dear friend and an incredible life purpose life coach who specializes in helping women navigate the transformative phase of midlife. Together, Lisa and I trained as life coaches, sharing many insights and experiences that shaped our paths. She's got a fascinating background, starting her career in advertising, then stepping away to raise her children, and eventually finding her passion in coaching and yoga. Now she empowers women to rediscover their purpose and joy during midlife transitions. Today, we'll explore her journey of personal and professional transformation, how she guides her clients to find new beginnings, and the lessons we both learned along the way. So let's get started and dive into Lisa's inspiring story. Lisa, welcome.
Thank you so much, Ipek. I'm super honored to be here. And of course, it's a little reunion for the two of us. So I always love that. So thank you for having me.
It is indeed fantastic to have you here. You have reinvented yourself several times. So my first question to you will be, what inspired you to get into life coaching?
It's quite a story. I mean, this came to me kind of recently that my first coach was yoga. That was my first coach. And that was over 20 years ago when I started practicing yoga. So I've been doing mind, body, spirit work for a very long time, over 20 years. And as I was a stay-at-home mom as I was teaching yoga, but then I stayed home longer than most moms do. And it wasn't until I was 59 years old that I went back to work. I actually got a full-time job, and I was working as an enrollment counselor at Grand Canyon University, and I enrolled people in online degree programs. So I loved the higher education piece. I loved being involved in higher education. And as a benefit of being an employee, we were able to take some courses. And I wasn't at the phase of life where I wanted an MBA or anything like that. So there was a graduate certificate of completion in life coaching in the psychology program. So I took that. It was about a 10-month program. And when I told people I was doing that, they were like, oh yeah, that's right up your alley. So it felt like a really good fit. And that was an academic piece. And then after that, I realized I need more. And so that's where I got into this certification program with you. So that's kind of what did it.
But as you said, alongside your coaching, you are also a yoga teacher, right? And also, there's one more thing that brings us together. You are a fellow teacher on Insight Timer.
Yes.
How do these roles complement your life coaching practice, and what unique perspectives do they bring to your work, like being an Insight Timer teacher and also being a yoga teacher? What are the pluses, benefits that bring to your coaching practice?
That's a great question. I have always been fascinated by thought work. I thought, having studied yoga, so I studied yoga and taught yoga for a long time before I got into coaching, right? So I was intrigued by the thought work I learned in yoga. And yet 20 years later, I realized there's more thought work to be done. And even though in yoga, we practice certain things like regulating our breath and managing our minds as we're in poses and things like that, and learning to cope in a pose. Those things have helped me and shaped me to become a coach. And they still do. Now, I don't teach on Insight Timer a whole lot. I'd like to teach more, but I'm dealing with some of my own physical challenges right now that I'm working on. Like I have hip issues right now. And so I'm working with the physical therapy to loosen that up and to feel better so that I feel like teaching more. I don't know if that answers your question, but I think that the two inform each other. Yeah. So does that answer your question?
Yes. And while I was asking you, I was thinking, I think it brings a more holistic approach to your coaching because you have different solutions to your clients' problems, maybe, or through yoga, through meditation, through anything that might complement your coaching skills.
That's a good point. So I might really, because you know how clients can come, they can present very stressed out, they're moving quickly and all that. So yes, I do have the ability to help them slow down. We focus on somatic work also, like just some breathing, and maybe we'll bring some oils into it just to feel better, to get grounded. So yeah, it has helped in that way. And I think that grounding, I think it's appreciated by the clients. I really do.
For sure. I'm sure they do. During our call earlier, you mentioned mind management. I mean, by earlier call, the call that we had before. And I am quite intrigued by that topic, mind management. Can you a little bit elaborate on its meaning and what it entails, maybe?
Yes, because it's my favorite subject. Okay, so our thinking really stimulates our feelings, and then our feelings stimulates our action. And oftentimes we don't make good decisions based on our thinking and feeling. And oftentimes our thinking is erroneous. And, the definition of yoga is to direct and focus mental activity. That's the goal of yoga. And a lot of people think it's doing poses and pretzel poses and all that kind of stuff. And I think a lot of people know that it is a mind, body, spirit practice, but the primary goal is to direct and focus mental activity. And that is a practice. That is not easy. So first we have to come to an awareness. Sometimes that awareness comes to us through a life event or through reading or personal development or something like that. But the thoughts just keep coming. They don't, even if you get good at it, they still come, and you still have to notice them and make a decision whether or not you want to run with them or not. And so it is a constant vigilance of your mind. And because the nature of the mind is to just kind of chatter, right? You know this, but a lot of people don't. And even if they do get a glimpse of that, it still takes, I would say, years of practice to get really good at witnessing your own thoughts and making decisions. Like even knowing you can change your thoughts, even knowing that you can decide is very cool to me.
You are making a very good point here, Lisa. It is very aligned with what I say about coaching, because in my opinion, coaching, the main goal of coaching is raising the awareness of the client. And I see that what you are telling about mind management seems like raising the other person's awareness around their thought patterns, their perspectives, and how they think, being mindful of their thoughts and noticing them as they come. Am I right?
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
One other thing that caught my attention, you say in your website, I believe, you talk about self-coaching.
Yeah.
What is that? Would you please share what self-coaching is? It might be very interesting to many people in our audience.
I'm so glad you asked that, because I was just thinking about it this morning. I used to be a member of Self-Coaching Scholars, which is a Brooke Castillo program. And it's all about learning how to coach yourself. Well, coaching yourself really comes after being coached. I mean, you have to learn the skills of this mind management piece to be able to coach yourself. But it's so possible. We can all do it. And we can all do it even, I can even do it better than I'm doing it now, and I'm fairly good at it, but there's always more. There's always more. Yeah. So I think that once, we coach someone, let's say it's 6 months, let's say it's a year. Some people want to go longer, 18 months, 2 years. But after that, they're developing some self-coaching skills. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's becomes a part of life, maybe.
Yeah. It's a skill. It's definitely a skill.
And I want to now talk about the art of being a little bit.
Oh.
It's very much aligned with our being movement and the essence of this podcast, right? But before getting to art of being, could you first tell us about your first connection with the Ultimate Coach community and the being movement, Lisa?
Of course. And that goes back as far as you go back, probably, because we were in the same coaching program and we saw a video of Steve Hardison doing the TBFLO, whatever that thing is. The story about Deuce Latouille, I think.
Yes.
And shortly after that, and then this is going back to 2020. So shortly after that, I received an invitation to read the manuscript of The Ultimate Coach. I don't know if you did that, but somehow I got that manuscript, and Steve got a hold of me, I guess, maybe even through Facebook or something. But he said, if you promise not to share this with anyone, I will give it to you, the manuscript, but then I want you to throw it away. And I said, okay, I'll read it. And I read it and I got rid of it like I promised. And that was before the book was published. So then, of course, the book was published. And then the Ultimate Coach experience happened out here in Arizona. I think it was Chandler. And I went with Colleen McCloskey. She came out here and we went together. And we had a really good time. And we met Steve and Amy and the other guy that wrote the book, Alan. We met Alan and yeah. And at that same time, I got introduced to Eric Lofholm. And that's a whole other story because now Eric is my coach. And Ankush is his coach, and Steve is Ankush's coach. So I'm in this lineage of coaches, which I'm like, oh my God, I can't even believe who I'm being coached by right now.
Yes. Well, then can you also tell us a little bit about what is art of being for you? What does that mean to you?
Yes. Okay, I'm going to address the couple of the questions in the book, the back cover or the inside cover. So there are a few questions. Who am I being as a leader? Who would I need to be to alter my relationship with fear? And who do I need to be a more loving, parent, spouse, whatever? And I love those questions. And then Eric Lofholm started a speakers group for being. He didn't call it the art of being. He started this group and I got intrigued by it. And I thought, you know what? I actually can speak on that. And it all comes from having read the book, of course, all those types of questions, and also creating a declaration of who we are, right? So one of the things that Eric taught me was that we're always being. So there were 3 distinctions. He talked about we're always being, and we can observe our being, and we can shift our being. That's thought management. That's mind management.
It's so aligned with what you do, right? Mind management.
Yeah, it just fits so well. So the art of being is learning. First of all, it is really expanding your vision of who you believe you are. That's the first thing. But in order to expand the vision of who you think you are, it helps to have some exposure to that, to have someone say, guess what? You're more than who you think you are. And here's some adjectives that might describe you, right? And then you can share those attributes, and then people can either be like, I resonate with that, or I don't resonate with that. do I want to be this? Like, let's say I say I'm a loving person, and someone might not think they're a loving person, or they just haven't thought about it, and then they might ask themselves, am I loving? I want to be loving. What could I do to be more loving? Those kinds of things. So it's I don't know.
It starts a chain of reaction kind of thing, right? Starting to think about yourself. If I'm not that, how can I get there?
Yes. And it's a choice.
Absolutely. So this is a very good way of coming close to this question that I was going to ask you anyway, which I ask to everyone coming to this podcast. Because you mentioned already the questions in the back and the front of the book. So which one of the questions from those lists is the one you need to focus on at this moment in time in your life, you think?
I'm going to go with who would I need to be to alter my relationship with fear? Because I think, I'm a pretty confident person. You've known me a long time. I think you're a very confident person as well. But we all have fear. There's always some fear. Am I going to bother this person? Am I going to say something on Facebook that's annoying? Or, there's just, am I serving in the appropriate way? Am I going to make a big mistake? And if I make those mistakes, how's that going to affect my life? So I think as confident as I am, I know I have underlying fears. And so that's the one that I would go with.
Yeah, that's a good one, because fear is a part of us, even though we try to erase it from our lives. From time to time, it comes and shows itself. And we are human beings, so it happens. But being mindful and trying to be more on top of things is always helpful, of course. So now this brings us to my 3 rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
I think so.
Okay. The first one is your favorite meal. So if you could eat only one meal for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Oh my gosh, probably. And I'm particular about this, but it could be pizza. I was going to say salmon, the healthy thing, but a really thin crust, crispy pizza with onions, sausage, and green peppers.
That's a good one. And it's so interesting that while I was asking you the question, the word pizza came to my mind. And you said pizza. It's so interesting. Okay. The second question, life lesson. What's the most important lesson you learned so far?
Starting when? I had a big lesson in high school. How about I share that one?
Of course.
I was a cheerleader in junior high school. I didn't make cheerleading my freshman year of high school, but my sophomore year, I made it because I worked my tail off. I hung out with my girlfriends who were cheerleaders. I worked out with them, even though they were practicing cheer for their stuff. I was up in the same, what we would call the dance room or the gym room. And I would be working on my splits and my jumps and all the things. And so sophomore year, I made cheerleading. And then I made it again junior year. But junior year, I was really slacking off. And I was, smoking cigarettes on the side of the school. And my grades dropped and all this stuff. And so when it came time for cheerleading tryouts for senior year, I did not make it because you had to have teacher evaluations in order to, there's a score that goes into your score of your tryouts. So I did not make it that first half of the senior year. Lucky for me, that was the first year they decided to split the football cheerleaders and the basketball cheerleaders. So football was fall and basketball was winter. So I had another opportunity to clean up my act. And one of the gals dropped out of the group. And when tryouts came, I made it for the second half of my senior year. So I just knew then, I learned, it was a big lesson. Don't slack off. If you want something, you can't have certain things if you live a certain way, I guess is what the lesson was. There's a consequence to everything. And my husband and I always like to joke, this is the way the world works, and take it or leave it.
This is a beautiful, thank you so much for sharing this. And it also tells us that you can always recover and make up for your mistakes and continue. Thank you for sharing that. And the third question I have, your bucket list destination. If you could travel anywhere in the world right now, where would you go?
Do I have to pick one country or?
Whatever comes first to your mind.
Europe. I want to see more of Europe. I'd like to, yeah. I'd like to see Europe.
You can jump in a train in Europe and go around all countries one after the other. Also, there are river cruises that I really like. I think we should arrange one of those and go for it sometime.
Yeah, let's do that, Ipek. Maybe it'll be a coaching cruise.
Yes, wouldn't it be lovely?
It would be fun. Yeah.
Well, Lisa, before we conclude this great episode, I know many of our listeners would love to dive deeper into your offerings like mind management, self-coaching, or possibly seek your guidance. What are the best ways for them to connect with you and engage with the impactful work you're doing?
Well, I do have a website, and that is lisanellercoaching.com. LISAKNELLER. I'm sure those will be in the show notes. Coaching.com. And then I do offer a free 7-tip video series on making your second half of life the best half. So it's creating a sensational second half. And that is lisanellercoaching.com/sensational. And then I have a podcast. It's brand new. And that is at My Golden Life. It's called My Golden Life. So it's on Spotify and it's on Apple. So if you're in the second half of life and you're a female, you'll probably enjoy that.
Oh, lovely. I will definitely check it out. Lisa, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your stories today. It's really inspiring to see how you've navigated through so many changes and helped others do the same. For everyone listening, if you want to connect with Lisa or check out her work, we've got all her links in the episode description. Thank you, everyone, for tuning into the Ultimate Coach podcast. Just a reminder, it's never too late to change things up and find a new passion in your life. Make sure to join us next time for more great talks that are sure to inspire and get you thinking. Lisa, it's been wonderful having you, and I can't wait to see what you do next. Until our next episode, keep embracing life's adventures. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Ipek. It's such an honor. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us today. If there's someone you know who could benefit from this conversation, please share this episode with them. Also, check out our website, beingmovement.com. You'll find valuable resources and links to connect to an engaging and wonderfully supportive community. Together, we can inspire and support each other on the path to a greater understanding of being. Until next time, take care and be kind to yourself.